Yeah, I'm so excited. I'm really fired up to do this talk. I know everyone's favorite person to hear from is the fourth person on a topic, so I'm really loving the energy and the vibe that we have here. But I just say I'm so excited. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Tyra. Thank you, Adam. Adam's like the godfather of this program in so many ways. Adam and Luke brought this to us years ago, and so much of the story of TGP in the last 3 years, especially through the pandemic, is told through the lens of service events. And so we're so grateful. And I want you to know we try to approach this with a little humility, but we've adopted this program and we have become the best there is. We're the gold standard for service events. Okay. And I'm not trying to say that to have a big head or make me feel good about myself. I always feel good. But guys, I want to actually give you some numbers and some data. I'm going to share this with you here really quick. I do have a couple technical things to share with y'all, but I just want to give you guys some actual numbers. Now, this is service event sales. This was a 3-year window of time. Okay. It's a snapshot, a 3-year window of time. I did these reports here just a little bit earlier in the summer. Now, this is the Southwest region. Okay, Southwest, we love our home region, but ultimately we're a national team and a national program. And in the last 3 years, TGP has sold $1.4 million in service events. Actually, more than that, closer to 1.5 at this point, and that's without our big wave coming up this fall after the fairs that you're going to be a part of, and we're super excited. Rising Sun, that's no joke, almost $1 million in service events in the last 3 years. That's massive. Okay, but again, this is their baby. This program was born there. But you'll see the drop-off happens pretty quick. The Lone Star is one of the single most dominant teams in the entire United States of America. They're insanely talented. Service events are just a program they hadn't fully embraced kind of up to this point. They're definitely working hard at it now. That's for sure. But I share this with y'all, like I said, not to brag, not to impress you, but just to impress on you that the systems and the organization and the structure and the approaches that we have are extremely effective. Now, we're not trying to change the way any of y'all do your current service event strategy, but if you're open, I'm just going to encourage y'all, if you're open-minded to just a couple of maybe new ideas or thoughts or higher standards for yourself, what's really possible. If you want to pull the lens back even further and just go nationally, Rising Sun is still number 2. LA is at 873, Cavalier at 825, some really impressive numbers. But guys, we're still coming in 50% higher or even more than that of the number 2 division. And again, that's not Brian Carter. That's Josh Muller leading the charge. That's Luke Mills bringing that just innovation. That's Adam Conroy bringing best practices and teaching our team. In fact, my first year doing service events, I did a ton of events and sold like $5,600. And I'm like, wow, I kind of hate this program. Okay. But at the same time, I knew from Seth Kinzer that my systems of care that I had for 1,000 customers would not scale to 2,000, 3,000, and 4,000 customers. And so number one, to protect my residual business, but number two, to protect the territories I'm operating in, I had to find a better way to care for my customers so we weren't getting those complaints. So even before I was getting the sales results on service events, I believed in the program and I understood the value and the importance of it. Y'all, for the last couple of years, we've been doing over $500,000 a year in service events in TGP. And so I just want to let y'all know, like from a strategic standpoint, when me, Kelly, and Josh are sitting down coordinating these events, when we do our monthly calls, we look at our service events as the fourth fair, okay? And you're all invited to it. In fact, hell, we all required you to come. Welcome. We're so excited you accepted the invitation that we made you accept. But I want y'all to understand, we fully expect our wave of service events to outperform some of our fairs. I don't know how it's going to break yet. I hope every single one of them crushes. But our service event alone, y'all, that is a fair. That's a fair. It's literally a state fair's worth of sales. Okay. I don't want to put too fine a point on this, but I just got to give you numbers. If you actually want to look at, $500,000 and 400 grand or so of that coming through our post-fair wave, just for perspective, we're talking a massive amount of this happens in the fall. If you look at the top events in 2021, there were only 4 events that did over 500 grand for the year. Now, yes, I know this is not one event. I get it. But if you actually take the length of time we're doing this in, it's about like the State Fair, LA County, Houston Rodeo, some of the other longest events. So sure, am I putting my thumb on the scale just a little bit? But guys, if you had a chance to participate in a $500,000 event and project, you'd be fired up. I'm fired up. We should all be fired up. Year to date, there's only 2 shows, LA County and the amazing Iowa State Fair that just wrapped up, over 500. Now, don't get me wrong. I know we have other big ones coming. I know that number is going to continue to rise, and we fully intend to get all of our fairs over that too. But guys, that's the level that we're at. All right. Like that's what we're approaching right now. And that's why I'm just so damn excited. You know, when I think of all the different channels we have, it's easy to sort of lump Texoma and TGP as, oh, they have the State Fair of Texas. And we do. We won the geographic lottery. Neat. Okay. But guys, for as proud as I am of that $1.3 million the State Fair of Texas did last year, we still did almost $4 million as a team. You know, and that's because we steal from the best, all right? And our service event strategy, you can't separate it from it. We have this compelling vision of just excited, happy, cared for customers, of consistent sales, because we have an organized strategy that we've been able to put in place with this. Sorry, guys, I think my mic is being weird. Hopefully you'll still be able to hear me okay. Let me switch out. I don't know. Hopefully someone just stop me if I can't. All right. So guys, we have a strategy for this, and it's something we're going to continue growing. We have a compelling vision of doing 750, 800,000, $1 million in sales for service events just in a single year. That's what's possible. That's what's really out there. Okay. I want to throw some numbers out at you. I'm going to run out of time, you know, quicker than I want to, but I want to give y'all some numbers, and then I'll give you a few technical tips. We're big on stats here. And if this is your first time, welcome. We collect a lot of stats, but we do it for a reason. It helps us identify best practices, find out what's working, bring it to the team in a really compelling and useful way. The daily stat tracking that the Vast Action team and Amy Muller does for us, I think it's going to blow you guys away. It's so next level. But we do the same with our service events. And there's just certain truisms we have learned throughout years of doing this. This isn't one way. This is years of doing this. Okay. Breaking down with some of the averages to talk about what's really possible here. Guys, out of the 132 shifts we currently have set for service events, and don't get me wrong, a lot of our team is going to add to it. I have no doubt about that. At 8.25 appointments a day, that's the team average. 8 appointments is the Mendoza line. If you're under 8, it's very hard to be above our team averages. If you're above 8, you're almost always square. Okay, that's going to be just under 1,100 appointments that we'll have if we can get that 8.25 a day. 84% closing is our consistent number for several years now. We're talking 915 sales. 77% closing, that's a consistent number over the last couple of years now. We're talking 705 sales. At a $675 average order. Now, I did bump that up. Okay, I bumped that up 20% higher because I'm doing that in line with our TGP booth averages, the trajectory of growth we've seen since our last wave. Okay, we're talking about $475,000 in sales. You combine that with the sales we already have year to date, we're talking about $700,000 in sales for the year for TGP. Now, when I think about what's really possible, guys, just incremental steps. Instead of 8.25, could we get 9 appointments a day? You know, instead of having like a 79% or an 80% closing, could it be 85? Instead of a 77 or 85% show, instead of 77 closing, could it be 80? Guys, we could baby step our way up to being at $550,000, $600,000 just in service events, just in our 4th fair that we have invented. We've invented in a way that's engaging and takes care of clients, and it's such a positive thing. Now, there's a couple things that we have figured out, and I am not going to go through this today. And by the way, I understand a lot of you guys are absolute pros at your service event strategy. So please, please know, we're just sharing this to be an open book. I share this with no sense of we have a better answer than you. There's more than one right answer. But this is just a checklist of like service event steps. This is something we put together to document our processes and share it as we're bringing people onto the team or people move to the area. And it just sort of lays out like, here's what we do. Here's why it works. Here's the big steps, big picture to have an organized program. Because I think the operative word to a successful service event strategy is organization. There's just a lot of people that are not as organized with this channel as they are with other areas of their business. And just like business events, structure, follow-up, yes, you need the script knowledge. Yes, you need to just get your skills on a certain level, but you've got to have organized systems. Service events are the ultimate example of that. Now, time-wise, all right, time-wise, I think the single biggest change in my business when it came to service events was definitely not something that I figured out. It was definitely something that my wife, Miriam, we work in partnership here. If you see any of our marketing, it's Brian and Miriam Carter, but she really helped us systematize our communication. So that way we were in a better place to make sure we're capturing information for our customers and converting it in a really, really useful way. Kind of the 3 steps for me, it's just capturing information, setting correct expectations, and systems of follow-up. Capture information, set correct expectations, and have systems of follow-up. So I want to share this with you, give you a quick example of what it looks like in the booth, and then I think I'm out of time. Okay, when we think of systemized communication, this is just a little Google Doc, and it has copies of the text messages that we send out to our clients every time we have a wave of service events set. I didn't write any of these, by the way. These are all my wife, but we have tested these over multiple waves. We have sold $50,000 to $75,000 a year in service events for the last 3 years, and so we know this works. Okay, and we've shared this with our TGP team before, and we would love to share it with the entire team here. So I'll post it in the group me. We'll email it out to everyone. Don't worry, we'll send a checklist. We'll send this too. But guys, when you immediately have an answer for every single person that comes up to the booth that needs sharpening, when you immediately have a system and an answer in place for everyone who responds to any call to action you ever have, when you have a way to consistently capture information for people who need sharpening, and you have answers for them 100% of the time, your customer relationships go next level. Well taken care of customers who feel heard, seen, and cared for, they respond to your marketing more, they respond to your sales more, they respond to everything more. So what does that look like? Okay, because I think this is the single biggest tip I have for our guests coming in that don't have a big market in Texas. Well, guys, I'll just be honest with you. I do more service appointments than most of our local team. I'm not the best at them, but I do more than most of them. And that's because I book a ton of days, we fill them up, but I have fewer customers than most of our team. I actually have fewer actual total customers, and I do fewer events than most of our team because of my commitments as a manager. But every event I do, I work Fort Worth Home and Garden. Anytime someone says they need sharpening, I immediately capture their information. Now, there's different ways to do this. Curtis has this awesome QR code he shows them, takes them directly to a Google form, and he has them filled out. That's great. I think that's a next level system that Curtis, you should ask him about at Dangerfield, okay? But for me, it's really simple. If someone says, hey, we need our Cutco sharpened, I go, great, you have 2 options for that, okay? 2 great options. Option number 1, you can always send into the factory at any time. They do an incredible job. They'll do a full factory restoration. They buff, polish, sharpen. You'll be really pleased with what they do. Now, the downside to that is you do have to ship it off. You're without your Cutco for a few weeks, but you send it to the spa and it comes back in pretty great shape, okay? And then they just kind of pause and I go, what's the other option? I go, the other option is our free local service events, okay? We do a couple big waves a year and we set up all across DFW. And it's great because we have certified sharpening professionals through our company that are set up. I'm one of them, okay? So if you chose to do this, you'd actually be working with me. And you bring all your Cutco, we sharpen it on site. If anything is damaged or a little too far gone, we'll actually package it up and send it in for you. But that way you get a receipt, the majority of your Cutco stays with you, and you know, and you just don't have to mess with it because, you know, most people know they can send it in, but they never get around to it. So which does you think would be better for you? Would you prefer to send them in, or do you want me to just connect with you as we have our next wave set? Now, by the way, 99% of them say, oh, no, I just want you to do it. And I go, okay, great. Here's my phone. Go ahead and if you'll just type in your name, your phone number, your email address, and your zip code, you know, hey, great. And then once they've done that, or I'll just ask them and I'll write it down. I also generally ask, okay, how long have you had your Cutco? You have a set or just a couple pieces, but it's just very conversational. I immediately send that to either my assistant or my wife. And we have a Google Doc and we just enter that in immediately. Okay. So that information is locked in. It is locked in. Whether we sold to them at that show or not, I don't care. We locked it in. They need servicing. We're going to service them. No big deal. No problem. Now, what we do though, is we set correct expectations. I'll literally tell them, hey, my next sharpening events will be coming up in 4 months. No problem. If that's when they're coming up, that's when they're coming up. But I know I do my waves in April, November. So me, my wife, my assistants, everyone knows if someone needs sharpening, we can always provide correct expectations. Hey, this is when it's going to be done. No problem. And sometimes people say, oh, but I want it done before then. And I'll go, okay, great. Well, you can send it in. That's a great program. You can be really happy with it. And they're like, oh, I don't want to do that. Well, I guess I've gone this long. Okay, I guess I'll just come and meet with you. Okay, now here's the postscript to it. What I always tell them is this. Hey, now here's what's going to happen. Once we have the days and times locked up, probably 3 weeks before, maybe a month before, we're going to send you a text that has a link to our website. It's going to show all the available days and times. I'm going to need you to definitely take a look as soon as I send that to you, because we want to send it to you first. You're going to go on our priority sharpening list. That's what we always call it. You're going to go on our priority sharpening list. Okay, and what's going to happen is I'm going to send it to you first, so we find something convenient for you. But after a couple days, we're going to send it to a couple thousand other clients across the area. And so that way we make sure we take care of people. And I just don't want you to miss out. So do me a favor, if you see that message from me, make sure to go ahead and take a look. And if you don't find something that works for you, reach out to me directly. Does that seem pretty good to you? And like, okay, great. And then our messaging is reinforcing that. We make them feel special. Hey, we're reaching out to you first because you're on our priority sharpening list. Hey, just FYI, we reached out to you before we sent it to a few thousand other people. So please take a look. When you have a minute, find a day and time that's convenient for you, because Brian can't wait to meet with you. relational, it's collaborative, and it's pretty darn easy. Guys, I'll just tell you this, you're all hell of good salespeople. I know that for a fact. That's why you're here. You're all incredible salespeople. I'm not gonna teach you about like service event strategies, even though we could talk about that at Dangerfield, if you wanna just up your game with displays and closing and approaches. But I will just tell you, those of you that get 8 or more appointments booked a day at your service events, you're gonna be at or above our team averages, and you are gonna be a part of the 4th fair. And I promise you, we're doing something here. We're leading a revolution, and the rest of the nation is going to see what's happening here, and they're going to realize they could be setting their own state fair in their own territory through this program if they work collaboratively, if they identify best practices, and they fill the damn appointments.